Hey Paint Loungers, welcome to the Baby Bunny Workshop. I'll be teaching you step by step on how to create this painting. For the tools that are required, we need the 1-inch flat brush, number 8 flat brush, number 6 round brush, number 2 round brush, a paint palette, as well as some chalk, and a palette knife. A palette knife is actually a great tool to scoop out the paint right out of the containers and then plop them right onto your palette. It's also a great tool to mix your colors later on. For the paint colors that are required, we need white, black, burnt sienna, warm red, orange, magenta, cool yellow, and cool blue. Additional tools include a cup of water to wash our brushes, some paper towel, as well as a hair dryer or a blow dryer to dry our canvas later on. Please note our paints are water-based acrylics. If you get paint on your clothes, head to the nearest sink and lift it up with warm water, a cloth, or a sponge. When mixing colors together, it's best to move it to the side and then gradually add the darker color to the lighter color. We do move the white over to the side and then we're adding the yellow a little bit at a time to slowly control the color that you create. You can add yellow to brighten it, give you that nice light bright yellow, and the brown will actually mute it. So the burnt sienna will give you more of a softer yellow, similar to a mustard yellow, but it does tone it down and not make it as bright. Using the 1-inch flat brush, you can just paint the entire background with your background color. There's no right or wrong with application, side to side, up and down, just get it across the canvas and every part of the canvas. You don't need to add water unless you find that the paint isn't going on as smoothly. Just be cautious. If you add too much water, it can drip, so just be careful. I do think it looks really nice to paint your edges with the background color, so where it wraps around the frame, and so just continue putting the color around the edge. If you've never used a blow dryer before with canvas, warm air is best. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes to completely dry, and if you're unsure, you can lightly tap it with your fingertips. Acrylic paint is fast drying, so if you don't have a blow dryer, you can leave the canvas for about 20 to 30 minutes to dry on its own. Once the canvas is dry, you can use chalk as a guideline to sketch out the bunny and the circle around it. Start by creating 2 circles, one within the other. If you have a mug, bowl, side plate, or anything that's round to actually trace, this can be very helpful. Notice we have switched our chalk over to the blue chalk just so that you can see what we draw. There is another technique though. If you have some twine or some string, you can tie one end of the chalk to the string and then hold the other end in the middle of the canvas and then rotate your hand around, and it does create a circle. You may have to rotate your hand a few times, but it does create a circle and you can adjust it if needed. Chalk is very easy to erase, so you can always erase it with your fingertips if needed. Once you've created the circles for the bunny and the branches, you can use smaller shapes to break down the image of the bunny. So an oval for the head, oval with a line for the arm, long pointed ovals for the ears. For the back leg, you can do a smaller circle. The foot is a long line, but it kind of curves into that circle for the back leg. It is going in the opposite direction of the circle that we created to break this image down. If you make any mistakes with your drawings, don't worry, you can always rub it gently with your fingertips. When this painting is totally done, the chalk can be removed with a damp cloth and water. It is suggested to wait till tomorrow, and I will give you a tip on that at the end. For the next step, the tools that are required are the number 8 flat brush, the number 6 round brush, and the number 2 round brush. On your palette, you will just need black and white, and we'll be creating 2 grays as well as using white paint for the next step. Be cautious of black, it is our darkest pigment. When mixing it with another color, you just want to add it slowly to the mix. So gradually adding it, and then you can control how light or dark it becomes. We need a light tone, which is just white paint, a mid-tone, which is a light gray, and a dark tone, which is just a basic gray. So just adding a little bit of black to the white. Using the number 8 flat brush, you can apply that mid-tone color. Again, it is the light gray, white plus a touch of black, and you can fill inside your chalk lines. We can always make it bigger. It is a little harder to make it smaller. Not impossible, especially with these color tones, because we can always paint over it. That's the beautiful thing about acrylic. There are 2 ways to use the flat brush. You can use the wide brush to cover more surface area, or the edge of the brush to create thin strokes. This is really good when you're creating the foot or even the ears, just to get a thinner application. For the darker tone, you need to mix the white with a little bit more black than what we just created. So again, just taking a little bit of black on the brush will really deepen it. We're going for a gray, so a kind of mid-tone when you think about it, but it's actually our dark tone because our bunny is quite light. This can be applied throughout the body, just really helping to create more shape and depth to it. So it's going around the backside, around the edge of the foot, and around the edge of the leg, as well as the arm, underneath the neck, and the inside ear. You can apply this with either brush, either the flat brush along using the edge, or the number 6 round brush. The round brush does help get you more of a pointed area, so it's great for the finer details around the foot and the arm, even around the neck. However, I'm a huge fan of the flat brush because you can kind of work it with both edges at a time. On that note, I do want to mention you can always hit that pause button and take a step back from the painting. It does help to take a little break from time to time. This video did take me a lot longer than what the recording is, so just keep in mind that it is good to take breaks. Using the number 6 round brush, you can add some white to lighten the bunny, just around the shoulder, the head, the outside ear, the top of the leg, and the foot. It just gives it a bit of a lighter kind of application. It just brightens it up and really shows that light hitting the bunny. Use the number 2 round brush to create a small dot for the nose and a small curved line for the eye. I did use the gray paint, so the white with a little bit more black to the mix. I think it'd be really cute to actually do like a heart for the nose, or even a little triangle would be cute. But just very small application, and then you can always add more to it if you need to. After this, take your time, take a step back, look at it with a fresh set of eyes. If you want to change anything, you can do that now. I've sped up the footage here just as I was kind of tweaking here and there, but I think it looked great beforehand as well. Before we go into the next step, if you'd like, you can use chalk to sketch out more details in the branches, create more lines if needed. For the tools that we need are the number 2 round brush and the number 8 flat brush, as well as paint, yellow, blue, burnt sienna. Here you can mix your desired shade of green. In this example, we used 1 part yellow, 1 part blue to create green, and then creating the green with a little bit of burnt sienna creates an olive. Other great greens are a lime, yellow plus blue, but adding more yellow than blue. More blue than yellow will create a teal. There's so many different versions and we don't even show them all to you, but feel free to experiment with your own shades of green. Use the edge of the number 8 flat brush to create the branch and the ring. Don't worry about the circle being perfect. Remember, we are painting nature, so it can be a little wobbly or wonky looking. It just looks more organic and natural. There are 2 ways to apply with the edge of the brush to create the smaller branches. You can start at the end where it's the smallest and apply light pressure, glide downwards and apply more pressure as you're going into that ring. Or you can start where it's thicker, so closer to the ring, and apply more pressure, but lift up towards the end to create that pointed fine edge. To create leaves, for larger leaves you can use the edge of the flat brush and apply light pressure at the tip of the leaf. Add more pressure towards the bottom, so you're kind of doing a stamping method, a slight drag with the flat brush as well. You can do this technique with either the round brush or the flat brush. With the round brush, it is better to use for smaller leaves, so stamping the brush itself will create a leaf-like shape. For the leaves that you see here, we do use the number 2 round brush and we're just stamping the brush on either side of the branch. I think it's nice to add multiple leaves throughout. It really does help fill in the space, the negative space especially. We will be adding the flowers shortly, but feel free to add as many leaves and many shades of green that you would like. Each flower will be shown individually, and then there's a little demo with an up-close version near the end. On your palette, you'll need orange, yellow, red, magenta, blue, white, and we'll be using the number 2 round brush. For the orange flower, mix orange plus white. Use a small round brush to paint 3 petals overlapping each other in a U or V-like shape. 3 to 5 petals is best, and it is good to use with a second color, so white really helps lighten the color. And it's good to add a few more of these flowers. So at first I just add the 3 that I have in the example. However, I do go back to it and add more because we are working on a larger canvas. You have more surface area to fill. For the pink flower, you want to rinse your brush with just a little bit of water, mix magenta, red, and white to create various petals overlapping each other. They look kind of all gathered together. You can't really see the distinction of the flowers, but just apply a little bit of white with that magenta or red and it will make it a lot brighter. We will be doing the centers of the flowers a little later on with a little neat trick, so feel free to add as many flowers as you like and feel free to change up the colors. The next flower is a small pink flower or a bud, mixed magenta and white, and it's very similar to the leaf. We're just using the small number 2 round brush to stamp the side of it to create a small dash. The next flower is our blue flower, mixing blue and white. You can use the small round brush to create more distinct petals, so really using about 4 to 6 petals and seeing that standard flower shape. Feel free to add as many as you'd like, and you can change up the color as well. For the centers of the flowers, you can use the end handle of the round brush, so the back end, stamp it in some paint, creating a little dollop of the paint, kind of like a Hershey's Kiss, and then you can stamp it in the center of your flowers. For the pink flowers, we did a red dot, and for the blue flowers, we did a blue dot, but feel free to, of course, change those colors. You could even use the burnt sienna. Here we are just adding more flowers. Again, we do have a larger surface area, so I am going in and adding more leaves as well as some more orange flowers just to fill in the space. Stay tuned for our flower demo or skip to the end for the last minute notes. I just wanted to show you some of the flowers close up. This is a yellow flower, which is very similar to the pink flower that we have in our example. So just creating those petals overlapping each other, you pretty much can't see how many petals that you have, and then adding another brighter color on top. For the centers of this flower, you could create the center with the brush hairs itself, or flip the brush around and dot the center. This color we did use brown. It kind of creates a sunflower shape. The next flower is a daisy, which we don't have in our example, but feel free to add. We are starting with the centers of the flowers first, creating little dots with the burnt sienna, and not necessarily going right at the end of the stems. I did start with white, but I end up switching it with pink. I would suggest drying or letting the centers dry a bit so that you can revisit this flower. So just creating small little dashes beneath, and it creates a nice little daisy. The next flower is similar to our orange flower. In this example, it is being used with red and white, just creating those 3 or up to 5 petals that are going in a U or a V-like shape. I think 3 looks really nice. It looks very similar to a tulip. Using white with any color will really help make it pop. The next flower is very similar to our blue flower. In this example, it's done with pink, magenta, and white, and just really creating those distinctive flower petal shapes. And then of course you can use the end of the brush to stamp the center. The center we are using the red paint. Using the round brush, the tip of the brush, you can create leaves very similar to our petals and our buds. So just creating the tip of the brush, and we can create small little dashes for leaves or petals. You can also create a large leaf with the round brush. Again, I'm a huge fan of the flat brush because it's quite easy, but feel free to use whatever brush you'd like. Here I'm just adding another sunflower just to balance out this teeny tiny painting, and just adding again lots of petals and then the brown in the center. This is the end of the baby bunny workshop. Please take note, when you're done painting, wash your tools as soon as you can with warm water. Try your best to leave them in their original form when you had received them, and lay them flat to dry on paper towel. For any leftover paint, make sure the caps are on tightly and you can reuse them again when you feel inspired. If they feel a bit dry when you do go and reuse them, just add a little bit of water to loosen them up. Again, they are water-based acrylics. For any chalk lines that are left on the canvas, wait until tomorrow to remove it. If you remove it now, there's a slight chance that you could lift up some of the background color. Wait till tomorrow, use a damp cloth, sponge, or even a Q-tip if you're nervous, and you can gently rub it off. Thank you for your love and support from all of us at Paint Lounge. We hope you had a wonderful session with us. We would love to see what you have created today. Feel free to tag us at Paint Lounge, hashtag Paint Lounge, or email us at info@paintlounge.ca. Have a great day. Take care.